The UN Security Council has voted to extend its mandate in South Sudan. What is its mandate and how does this help the world's youngest nation have its first democratic elections as projected next year? Joining us this morning to talk about this is Darren Bartlett, our East Africa correspondent. Good morning, Darren, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning and happy Women's Day, or it's belated, but
thank you. Women's Month. Thank you very much, Darren. So let's talk about South Sudan. What's the situation here? How does this nation have its first democratic elections as projected next year?
Now, since South Sudan broke off being the youngest nation in the world and broke off from Sudan, the mainland, and they became independent, they have never had an election. And this is something that they're looking at to have about next year. But there are quite a number of things that are preventing the smooth democratic process in Sudan. For example, the conflicts between different political camps, which, for a long time, they've been trying to see that Sudan comes back to peace. We've seen camps from Riek Machar and also the sitting president, who is Salva Kiir, causing we saw Riek Machar, who's the vice president today, being exiled about twice until there was a peace agreement between how they share power to ensure that there's some peace restored back to South Sudan. But that didn't come that easily. There had to be an intervention, bring through the UN mission of South Sudan, who helped kind of stabilize the situation there. But their mandate had ended, and that is why the UN Council sat and came up with some other resolutions, and they extended their mandate in South Sudan. This way, 13 countries that voted for the extension of the mandate in South Sudan. 2 countries abstained, which was Russia and China. Of course, they gave their own reasons, saying that the mandate or the resolutions that were adopted in Monday's meeting, they feel like they're more of internal than international concerns. Things like financing the country and how they run their democratic processes is something that they don't want to agree with on the council. So they stayed away. But however, their staying away did not stop the 13 other members to pass the resolution. And some of the resolutions here they were looking at is that how do they create a smooth delivery process of humanitarian aid in South Sudan, but also 2, how do they protect civilians? How does the mission that is going to be in South Sudan look at issues of violation of human rights? So those are some of the areas that they were looking at to ensure that they extend their stay for the next 1 year. But also, they must observe and protect and see that the peace during the election, which is projected to have next year. We are not so sure whether it will actually happen, but this has been going on, being postponed over time. But yeah, that's one of the mandates, to see that election actually happens peacefully. It's debatable on whether they have been doing enough for the last time they have been there. But maybe we shall see some peace there, since the ceiling has been increased to 17,000 foot soldiers in South Sudan.
Yeah, that's really, really shocking, and I'm also seeing that the United Nations had encouraged South Sudan to end the fighting and, of course, move faster to elections. So, it's going to be a big question for me also, and I'm sure a lot of people, if elections and a new president and some of all of that will end the fighting, and if they aren't even tired.
There's always tension that comes across. I'm certain that you've heard about the news where the Secretary of Defense, who comes from Riek Machar's camp, was fired, and it already created tensions. We saw Abiy, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, coming into the picture and trying to reconcile the situation that was starting to escalate again. But every time an election is seen in the picture, there's always something that happens, and then it's pushed ahead. I'll take you back in 2020, when Salva Kiir himself came out and said, yes, he could have signed a peace agreement between the 2 camps, Riek Machar and himself as the president of South Sudan, but he did not understand what was in the agreement. So if a president can say such a thing, he didn't understand. Peace is really it's really a long sight, but we hope that this will bring peace to the country.
All right,
All right.
let's move away from South Sudan to DR Congo. We hear that, or we can see the citizens are fleeing to neighboring countries, with the most recent being Tanzania, due to, of course, the tensions in the eastern part of the country. We know that UN diplomats have been there. Angola is sending in forces. Armies from Kenya, Burundi, Uganda, and South Sudan are already in the conflict zone. However, it does seem that the rebel forces are gaining more ground than we expected. Why isn't the situation normalizing?
In Tanzania, they received about 2,600 people since the beginning of March. So the refugee crisis is going to go up, but whether peace is going to return to to DRC Congo is now a different question, because we have peace forces there, but they are not carrying out offensive measures. They are rather taking the defensive part of it. So at the end of it, you realize that the M23 are still there and the other rebel groups are still there. And if there's a ceasefire, no one is going to make a move. But if the M23 make advances, that is when the East African forces try to protect. But you may want to understand that the DRC forces are also stretched in numbers, including, say, the Ugandan forces who are helping on both fronts, fighting the ADF, but also trying to bring peace to the region. So they're also stretched in their own way. And other regional forces have sent small, not really big forces, small pockets of forces. Angola sent about 100, Burundi sent about 100 as well. South Sudan sent 90. So when you also look at the manpower and the experience of the armies that are going in there, you might think this war is going to take a long time, and the increase of the refugee crisis might actually go up.
And that's mostly the most frightening part. What you just said. The fact that it's going to take a long time, because I was thinking, if maybe there's an end to the supply of weapons, if maybe there's an end to the supply of cash, and those who have continued to support the war and the crisis, would simply just let go. Maybe we would see an end to this, but with situations like this, it's hard to understand what exactly their demands are and what they are trying to achieve beyond what is said in the media. Go ahead, Darren.
But you see, sometimes the army could have an interest to see that they stop the escalations that are there. But we also need to look at the multi-million companies who are benefiting from this, who are actually illegally taking minerals from Congo and paying the rebel groups for easy way out to see that the minerals are out of the country, to go and manufacture their expensive cars and gadgets like phones and all the things. So you find that the rebel groups are actually benefiting from this. So if the multi-million companies also probably put an end to this, they could actually make a big contribution, because they're the ones who are indirectly financing them, or probably directly financing them to get the minerals. Do you think that a rebel group will give up a mine or a gold mine to go back to normal civil life where they don't get money, rather than where they get quick cash? Question there.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard to just understand. But at the same time, this is a great angle that you've brought in. War, always has background reasons that nobody is told, and of course, a lot of them are financial. In every war most of the wars that have happened, and a lot of ones that you can't really understand. It's money related. Darren Bartlett, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate your analysis on East Africa. We will see you again sometime next week. Stay safe.
Enjoy your weekend.